Good afternoon, Chief here for Chief Tells Tales. If there's an echo sound, most of the furniture is out of my loft. I'm cleaning the carpets today, so I've been busy. My days of being a Purple Pharaoh are getting numbered, as I said. I only got a couple short stories this week. As I said, the first candidate that I met who will become a warrant officer along with me is a guy we call John Boy. He will pick up that nickname when we go to our first duty assignment together. And he was in charge of acquiring the MREs. So when I was class leader, he became class leader after me. And since he got informed, he turned to me and says, "Oh, here's the memo for the MREs that you got to pick up when we go to the leadership/confidence course." The leadership/confidence course is rope, wood, obstacles, and supplies that you're supposed to get from one side of the obstacle to the other. And there are certain part of the obstacle that is painted red, which means if anything touches the red, it's over with. You're kaput. You're done. You're finished because you touched the red. And I got dinged for my obstacle because I didn't lead. I contribute and directed rather than just lead and direct and tell you to do this, you to do this, you to do this. But this wasn't a pass-fail. This was just a simple thing. And that's how I got kicked in the side of the face, because the last obstacle that we did was a wood wall. I guess you could call it a wood wall, or like the peak of a roof, where we had to get a 55-gallon drum empty up and over and get us up and over. So we got most of the people up. They were sitting on the apex of the roof while two of us rolled the 55-gallon drum up to them, and then they gently lowered it. They had somebody on the other side who caught it, and then they all got down, and then the guy standing next to me, I said, "I'll sacrifice myself," and they said, "Nope, you can't sacrifice yourself." But I helped him up, but while I was pushing him, he hit me right there with his foot. I mean, it wasn't intentional. And later that day when I bit down, and I think I had a burger, I bit on something hard, and I tried to spit it out, but I didn't want to spit it out due to our dining rights. You're not supposed to spit food out. So I swallowed it, and I'm like, put my tongue over there, and I'm like, oh, that is jagged. So part of the inside of my tooth chipped, not on the outside. It was on the inside, so therefore my tongue was getting stabbed constantly as I was chewing. So a couple days later, you know, your skin develops that resistance to where you're not going to get stabbed and bleeding all the time. Plus, I didn't want to miss any part, because we were told, I think if we missed a day, we would be phased back. So I didn't want to miss any of the fun that we were having. So after we all got done with our leading and doing these obstacles, it was time for lunch. And we had a TAC officer, I believe, at every obstacle, because we were split into groups like 6 or 7, and there was enough obstacles for us to each lead at a particular one. So then it came time to eat, but the greater share of the TAC officers went in. I think only 1 or 2 stayed out with us. It wasn't more than 2. I know it was at least 1, because they had to bring us home. And of course, I had picked up the MREs from the dining hall. I had the slipper, the memorandum for record, and turned it in, got the MREs, took the MREs out there on the bus with us, and of course, gave each candidate one, and gave the TAC officer one, or the TAC officers each one, and had one left over, because we had lost a soldier when John put in this request. We lost one soldier due to cancer. That's all I'm going to say about it. Guy was PT God. He could do PT, he could do push-ups, sit-ups, run. He was excellent PT. Had a well-fit body, but supposedly they detected cancer from head to foot almost in this guy. He was gone. You got cancer, you're gone. So he was our extra body. So TAC officer kind of looks over me, candidate, looks like you got an extra MRE. Did you not do a head count? Now, as I said, I had been given the responsibility of this from John Boy because he was the one that did the memorandum to get these things in the first place. So therefore, I wasn't going to rat him out. That isn't what I do. So I just sucked it up and I said, yep, I guess I miscounted or something like that. And I don't know if John spoke up or not, but before he could speak up, the TAC officer basically said, well, that's okay, I'll take care of it for you, and opened it up and proceeded to have 2 MREs in a single day. And I was like, yeah, okay, just mess with us. And then the other incident I wanted to talk about, I got a note here. Nope, that's the wrong note. Okay, where'd my note go? Oh, there we go. MREs, confidence course, John Boy. Oh, that's all I wanted to talk about according to my notes. So as I said, after our hell day and our hell week or whatever, we became seniors, and like I said, everything was downhill. Like I said, I just barely passed phase inspection, and then it was kind of like, yeah, all this forgiven, kind of, sort of. Oh, one of the incidents I wanted to talk about, the procedures to go to the door. Now, when we went to TAC Alley, you had to go outside was pull-up bars. You had to do 3 pull-ups, and then you would look inside the doorway to see if the hallway was clear. And then one day, John Boy and I walked in, and he was ahead of me, and the hallway, everybody was doing push-ups. There were people doing push-ups all up and down this hallway. There was not a clear space. TAC officer came up to John. John fumbled something. John Boy got dropped. Same TAC officer came up to me and he says, why aren't you moving, candidate? Candidate, blah, blah, blah. Reading of the day. The hallway is crowded. He looks, just get to your door. But not on this day, but on another day, the hallway was empty. I got down to the door where I needed to go. Now, the hallway procedure, from what I can remember, is you would get to your doorway, of the opposite, the person or the TAC officer you needed to see, but you would go to the side of the doorway. You'd be facing on the inner side of the doorway, and then you would look in the door frame to see if they were on the phone, busy, talking to somebody else, talking to another TAC officer, talking to another candidate. If they weren't, there was there? Oh, you get inside the door frame, you stand inside the door frame, and you bam, bam, bam. You rap 3 times and 3 times only. And then they acknowledge you, and then you, of course, do candidate so-and-so, greeting of the day, permission to enter, or something like that. And then they respond, like, what state your business, or something like that. Well, this brand new TAC officer, a female, had just joined to be the responsible for us for this period of time, hesitated. And she says, candidate, aren't you supposed to say something else? I've got good peripheral, even though I'm standing in this doorway. I hear somebody walking behind me, and it is the TAC officer who is with us when we are seniors, the one that kind of prepares us to graduate. He's somewhat of a nice guy. I could see him over here, and then he walked over to here. Well, after she said that, she pulled out the walk guide and so was flipping through the pages. Meanwhile, I'm busy. Candidate so-and-so, greeting of the day. According to the walk guide, the procedure is, as I come to the doorway, I check to see if you're busy. I come in the door frame. I started repeating the whole process, and I see him nodding his head up and down because she's finally looking at me and sees him behind me, and he's nodding his head because I see it off to the side. Like I said, I got good peripheral. And then she says, okay, you are correct, but I will check the walk guide after. And the same time we got an ex-Marine who could not run. Now, in order to go to warrant school, you have to be able to do PT. You can't go there with any profiles or disabilities that cannot make you do the PT test, because you have to do a PT test while you're there. So this guy couldn't run, and of course he was always yelling at us to run. We call him TAC Officer Frumpy later on, and he was just a character. Now another TAC officer, but he was in charge of the Snowbirds. This guy Yes, Snickers. This guy was a dick. He was a dick because we got him at the tail end of our Snowbird status. And I mean, he was just constantly yelling. I don't know what his problem was. So one day I was in the chow hall. I was eating, not taking my time, but eating normally like everybody else. And in the two corners of the chow hall, there were television sets, so a lot of us tried to sit on one side of the table where we could at least look at the two television sets, but normally this one was shut off, but this one over here was open because that's where the rest of the students, the AIT'ers, the people going through their advanced training, the privates, the enlisted ranks. Yes, Snickers, you got to come up on my lap. Okay. So they were, only like 3 of them were sitting there, and they were all looking at the television set. And TAC Officer Dickhead kind of gives them a look, looks at the TV set, walks up to the TV set, and like a mischievous person, he puts his hand up near the shutoff knob, looks at the 3 AIT'ers, smacks, and turns the television set off, looks at them and goes, "Because I can." And I'm like, what is your problem? We were so thankful that he got shoved over to take care of Snowbirds. I just can't believe that someone would be that cruel to soldiers that technically he's not in charge of, so to speak. He's in charge of Snowbirds and us once in a while as a TAC officer. But to treat 3 innocent AIT'ers, I'm going to shut the TV off because I can. And of course, you know, they saw his rank, and not like they all responded in fear, but you could tell that they were like probably wondering who this guy was at the same time that did this to them. So that's it, just about it. I probably will just talk about graduation and leaving and getting to Fort Huachuca next week, because that's the next leg of this. Because once we graduated at Fort Rucker, Alabama, we have to go to Fort Huachuca, Arizona we had to do a 2 to 3 weeks, I think, collectively as a class again, because this is where all the MI guys went. And then we had to do a speech. And then after we did that, we broke off into our individual MOSs, and then we did our like a refresher course, but this time with more leadership emphasis involved, but we still had to prove that we could do our MOS still. So this is Chief out. Remember, freedom's not free. I don't know when the Ukrainian war is going to end. It looks like it's going to end on a positive note, but the destruction of their nation is going to be the sacrifice that they're going to pay. I heard estimates already, we're at $1 trillion of damage, but probably a lot of those apartment buildings were built during the Khrushchev and Brezhnev area, and they fall down occasionally anyway, but some of the newer stuff has also been destroyed at the same time, so it's going to give the Ukrainians a chance to rebuild their country. Maybe they'll build it more beautiful with the help, because hopefully the United Nations, not the United Nations, United Europe, the UE, I hope they do. I hope they help out. So this Chief out. Remember, freedom's not free. Think of it. Bye.